I can Corla. First of all, I want to join with the Taoiseach and Deputy Kenny in paying tribute to Gordon Brown and to thanking him for the work that, particularly that he has done in relation to Ireland and Northern Ireland. And I want to wish Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg well as they embark on leadership of the government of Britain, recalling that under the outgoing Labour government, the relations between Britain and Ireland, I think, greatly improved, and particularly in relation to matters relating to Northern Ireland, I think it is important that there is a good working relationship between the government of this country and the government of Britain, and I hope that that will continue under the new regime. We've been talking about the deficit, and I want to talk about the one thing that has contributed most, and that is contributing most to the deficit here, and that is the continuing story of Anglo-Irish Bank. This is the black hole which Fianna Fáil helped to dig, and into which 22,000 million of taxpayers' money is now going to have to be put, adding to our national debt. Now, there was an article in the Sunday Times, Taoiseach, which I want to ask you about. And in that article, it states, it refers to a set of minutes, confidential internal Anglo minutes, dated from a meeting on February the 18th, 2009, between Anglo-Irish Bank and the Central Bank. And in it, it states that the Department of Finance told the then chairman of Anglo-Irish Bank not to be too negative in a letter to shareholders relating to the bank's 2008 annual report, which was published after the bank was nationalised in early 2009. The then chairman, Mr O'Connor, was also told, according to this article, by the Department of Finance, that he should not refer to emergency funding. Apparently, Mr O'Connor was anxious, according to the article, that the chairman's statement should tell it as it is. And the article astonishingly states that the Department of Finance drafted a less negative version of the chairman's statement. Now, Taoiseach, when you will recall that when some weeks ago, when we heard that Anglo-Irish Bank had increased the salaries of some of its staff, and we asked you here, both Deputy Kenny and I asked you here about that, you told us that there was nothing that you could do about that because, of course, that was all a matter for Anglo-Irish Bank and its board, and that the government would not or could not intervene or interfere in that. Yet we have here, according to this, a direct interference by government through the Department of Finance, in which effectively it was encouraging, your government is encouraging, the chairman of the board of the bank to effectively doctor the information that was being released to the public, not to share with the public, and indeed the then bank's shareholders, and I imagine that there is some responsibility on boards of banks to inform the shareholders, as they were in 2008, of what was the real state of the bank's finances. And according to this, the government was directing the bank to put a gloss on the information that was being issued as part of the 2008 annual report, and even goes to the extent of, as it put it, drafting a less negative letter to go with the report. Question to Corla, yes. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. The question to the Taoiseach is, first of all, can you confirm that the Department of Finance did in fact draft a less negative letter to go with the annual report of the bank in 2008? And secondly, can you justify why government was encouraging that bank and directing it to effectively issue false information about the state of its finances and its requirement for additional funding? Corla, this is no small matter. This bank, we're now told, is going to cost 22,000 million euro and more, yes, to put this bank right, or even to have it wound up is going to cost huge amounts of money. And we now know that that money, while the government had intended that somehow that would be at arm's length from the state's own finances and budgets, that cannot now be the case due to what we've heard from Eurostat. So this is a very, very major issue. We were only told, Taoiseach, the Minister for Finance only told this House the full extent of the requirement for finance for this bank in April of this year. Now, the first question that I think arises here is, firstly, what was the state of the government's information about the requirement from Anglo-Irish Bank for additional funding in February of 2009, when the government directed the bank to doctor the information that was being issued to the public? That's the first question. The second question is this, and you haven't addressed it. You've made it sound like that the bank just sent in the draft statement from the chairman for observations from the Department of Finance. According to this article, the Department of Finance redrafted the statement. It drafted what it calls a less negative version. Is that true, or isn't it true? Because it seems to me to be quite a serious matter. First of all, anyway, if there was a gloss put on the information that was put out, but it is doubly serious if that was done at the instigation of government through the Department of Finance. And thirdly, can you square it with the relationship framework, which I understand that the European Union requires to have established between the state and Anglo-Irish Bank as a condition for approving the arrangements that were arrived at for that bank. And there's a reply to Deputy Burton, which the Minister for Finance gave to her only a couple of days ago, in which he states that in the interests of facilitating compliance with EU state aid and competition policy, the relationship framework recognises the separation of Anglo-Irish Bank from the Minister and limits intervention by the Minister in the conduct of Anglo-Irish Bank's day-to-day commercial activities. What do you think that the European Commission is going to think of this report in the Sunday Times, which you have certainly not denied, which states that the government is having a hands-on approach in writing what is in fact turns out to be a false statement of the financial position of that bank?